Hello and welcome to the Automatic Trial Training video for the workflow Adding an Employee to HRM. This is the fifth and final video of the trial video series, so if you haven't watched the previous videos yet, we recommend that you watch them first. They can be found on the trial resources page of our website or in the description below. In this video, we will leverage UI automation in the onboarding process to add an employee to our system of record. After an employee has signed an employment contract, the next step will be to add them as a new employee in the database. Often, this is a manual process, whereby an HR associate has to copy and paste from a file into a database. To find this workflow, navigate to the Workflow tab. Search for Add New Employees and press Query. Select Add New Employees to HRM System and click Open. Let's press Start to watch this workflow in action. Using UI automation, the digital worker opened Chrome to our Human Resources Management system. Using data found in spreadsheets, it enters the employee information into the database and creates an employee number. After that, it navigates to the All Employees tab to add employee data from the most recently hired employees onto a spreadsheet. Once the workflow has finished, we can open the file it updated with the employee information from the database. Now that we've seen it in action, let's look at how we built this workflow. This workflow utilizes UI automation, which allows us to train a digital worker to use programs the same way we do, by making a recording in a user interface. Let's start by building a simple recording to open the HRM interface. Navigate to the UI Automation tab. Click New Recording. Add a name and a description. Then set the sharing rules. Up on the top toolbar, we will configure some basic settings. UI automation can be utilized for Windows programs, internet browsers, or more advanced back-office systems. In this trial, we have included a file to serve as an example of a browser-based HRM, so we'll navigate to the Web tab. We'll need to verify the browser information, including where it sits on the computer, as well as which URL to start from. A URL for any web page can be entered. However, for this trial, we included a file, which can also be accessed using a file path. This first recording will open Chrome for the first time to access our web-based HRM portal. So we'll choose the New Application setting in the lower right-hand corner. Now we are ready to start recording. Up in the top toolbar, we'll press Record. Based on our settings, the UI recording will open Chrome and navigate to the URL we configured. This looks to be the correct page, but for best practices, we'll click the Create Profile tab to ensure that we are in the correct location. This is opening Chrome to the correct page for us, which was the goal of this first example. Press Stop to review the recording. Back in Studio, we can press play to ensure that our recording is working as expected. The recording is working, so we'll save this for use in our workflow. Now that we know the basics about UI automation, let's build something more advanced. We know that we want to train a digital worker to move data from a spreadsheet into our HRM system. So let's start by looking at the spreadsheet. If we scroll across the first row at the top, we can see the type of data that exists in each column. Now, looking at our HRM system, we see that the data from our Excel sheet maps to the different fields in the interface. Knowing that we will get the information from a spreadsheet, we can start to build our recording. From the UI Automation tab, we'll start by adding a new recording. Add a name and the other basic information, then set the settings to open to the employee database in Chrome. This time, we will choose Existing Application in the bottom right corner, since our first recording will be opening Chrome for us. Now we can record the different data fields we know we will have to populate. Start the recording. Click into each field in the form, adding a single character each time. By doing this, we have recorded how we choose fields and that we want to input data. This can be seen by the focus and set text actions that were captured automatically. Next, we will replace each action with a label that will help us remember what data to send. In Automatic, we call this a parameter. Find the line with the Set Text action, right-click, and select Replace with Parameter. Name the parameter based on which input field this corresponds to in the input form. After we have replaced our form input fields with parameter names, the last step will be to create the employee and retrieve the employee ID number. We will create the employee with the button in the user interface, and the step will be recorded automatically. When the employee has been created and the employee number is available, we will use the Insert Internal Variable function. This will allow us to retrieve data from the user interface so that we can record the new employee number. We'll name and apply the new variable. Then we will stop the recording. We are done creating the UI recording that will enter the employee into the database and read the employee-generated number. Let's make one more recording to update the spreadsheet with employee information from the most recent employees in the system. Create another new recording and complete the necessary setup steps. In this recording, we'll navigate to the Employees tab. Then, using the Data Export functionality, we'll select the entire table of data. The intelligent system will know you are selecting an entire table of data if you simply click near the top right corner of the table. Choose the format and the name of the data you want to export. Press Apply and end the recording. Save your work. We have created all of the UI recordings we need for this workflow. Now we'll navigate to the Workflow tab to use these recordings. Create a new workflow and add the necessary information. Let's find and add our first UI automation that will open up the employee database. Next, we'll add our spreadsheet with the information we want to bring. We know there is more than one employee, so we'll use a For Each Excel row task. We'll configure the task with the spreadsheet file and set the rows we want to check. Next, using a Read Cells by Criteria task, we'll find the exact cells of data we want to align into the input fields of our HRM system. Now, we need to configure which rows to read and where to store that information so that we can use it further down the line. To do that, we will open the spreadsheet with the information we want to enter into the employee database. The columns of the data in the spreadsheet represent what we want to move into our HRM. Back in Studio, we will add the Excel columns and the output variables to store the spreadsheet information. Once we have finished that, we are ready to add the UI recording we made that will create employee records. We'll need to map the values going into the UI recording to be the information we read from our spreadsheet. Map all the input data, and add a variable for the output of the employee ID read from the system. Add one more task to update the Excel file with the newly generated employee ID number. Notice that you can apply special logic to determine where data should be brought into an Excel sheet. The last step of our workflow will be to add the third UI recording we made, which will export the employee data from the most recent hires. And there you have it. In this video, we saw how we can train a digital worker to complete another step in the onboarding process, entering the newly hired employee into the database. UI automation is a powerful tool that can be used to train digital workers to perform actions using the same interface that you use. As you can see, configuring a workflow is incredibly simple. There's no need for technical expertise. Now that you have seen how to build workflows using tasks, data extraction, and UI automation, you are ready to begin building your own processes. We hope you've enjoyed this video series. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. Your Automatic team.